No solo fueron los demócratas los que destrozaron a esta desviveperros, o también conocida como la secretaria de Seguridad estadounidense, llamada Kristi Noem, y todo esto durante las audiencias en el Congreso, sino que también la destrozó la Suprema Corte de Justicia de Estados Unidos. De alguna forma enviaron un mensaje no solo a Kristi Noem, sino a toda la administración de Donald Trump. Déjame explicarte lo que la Suprema Corte dictaminó. Todo esto en un caso en el que Donald Trump invocó la Ley de Enemigos Extranjeros de Estados Unidos, llamada en inglés Alien Enemy Act. Como sabrán, en Estados Unidos decir alienígena o alien a un inmigrante es una forma muy despectiva de referirse a ellos. Así que la Suprema Corte atacó a Donald Trump y a su administración, que dicen que los inmigrantes no deberían de tener el derecho al debido proceso, o también que dicen que no tienen el derecho a merecer una audiencia. Y por si no lo sabes te lo explico, no importa de qué nacionalidad seas, y por si no lo sabes te lo explico, no importa tu ciudadanía, no importa de dónde vengas, siempre y cuando estés en Estados Unidos, tienes el derecho al debido proceso y tienes el derecho a una debida audiencia. Y la Suprema Corte de Justicia estadounidense lo acaba de reafirmar. Todo esto sobre la decisión de la Ley de Enemigos Extranjeros, lo cual tuvo lugar la semana pasada. Esto es lo que dijeron, así que presta atención. Déjame leértelo y dejártelo claro de una vez por todas. Desde la Corte Suprema, la quinta enmienda otorga a los extranjeros el derecho al debido proceso legal, en el contexto de los procedimientos de deportación. Luego continúa diciendo: las reglas del debido proceso están destinadas a proteger contra la privación errónea o injustificada de la vida, la libertad o la propiedad. Hemos sostenido durante mucho tiempo que ninguna persona debe ser expulsada de los Estados Unidos sin la oportunidad en algún momento de ser escuchada. Ahí lo dice y no podría ser más claro. Pero este fue el testimonio de Kristi Noem, que yo diría que roza el perjurio. O también que en momentos normales donde no hubiera tanta corrupción en el gobierno, debería de bastar para que sea destituida de su cargo. Esto es lo que Kristi Noem dijo durante su conferencia en el Congreso.
Some tragic circumstances are at bay. I'd like to switch gears to due process. I have a lot of concerns about the lack of due process that your agency has been affording people in this country. In Texas, for example, you had rounded up 171 individuals, were preparing to deport them, and it wasn't until the Supreme Court issued an opinion that that was unconstitutional and that their due process rights were being violated did your agency actually stop and adhere to the Supreme Court's opinion. My question to you is, has those efforts ceased in your agency? Are you going to cease trying to deport people without access to due process in the courts of law in compliance with the United States Supreme Court?
Well, Congresswoman, we are following due process and using it as to how Congress has laid out to us in statute, and we are complying with all federal judges' orders as well.
Well, you weren't complying at that time. It took the United States Supreme Court to order you to comply, so you hadn't proactively complied on your own. You were intending to wrongfully deport people without access to a court hearing, without access to the rule of law, and that is why it was necessary for the United States Supreme Court,
due process does not guarantee a hearing,
who issued an opinion ordering you and your agency to comply with the due process rights of the people in this country. That's what makes our country great, is we do have access to due process. And so my comment to you is I'm hoping as you move forward, because initially as you were proceeding through these deportation processes, you were not affording people due process, and the Supreme Court has now ordered you to do so. So I am assuming by your testimony that you do intend to comply with the Supreme Court's order moving forward, and we're not going to have any more instances of wrongful deportation without proper access to due process. Is that correct?
We are following federal judges' orders, and
Good.
We are complying with due process
Well, we look
procedures
forward to
as
that.
they are laid out, as Congress has given us those tools to do that.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I have one other.
Tengo algo muy despreciable que mostrarte, pero primero vean a los miembros del Congreso destrozarla. Quiero compartir con ustedes la declaración final de un congresista demócrata. Él se llama Magaziner y le dijo esto a Kristi Noem, todo alrededor de un disfraz que ella tiene de cosplay, así que presta atención.
You have not presented any other evidence, nor has your department. Reclaiming my time, during your confirmation hearing, you said your focus would be on deporting immigrants who have been convicted of crimes and those who have received removal orders. But that is not what you have been doing. Instead, you have been deporting children with cancer, children who are U.S. citizens, a gay makeup artist who committed no crime and didn't even enter the country illegally. You have been sloppy. Your department has been sloppy. And instead of focusing on real criminals, you have allowed innocent children to be deported while you fly around the country playing dress up for the cameras. Instead of enforcing the laws, you have repeatedly broken them. You need to change course immediately before more innocent people are hurt on your watch.
A continuación, escucha la opinión que tiene Benny Thompson al respecto de los disfraces de Kristi Noem.
Secretary Noem, I'm glad you found time among your many photo ops and costume changes to testify about why President Trump is seeking more taxpayer dollars and what you plan to do with that money if you get it.
Ahora, aquí está el senador demócrata de Arizona, Rubén Gallego. Él explica lo ridícula y lo ofendido que él se puede sentir por el hecho de que ella lleva un uniforme que no merece. Recordemos que el senador Gallego es un veterano de guerra, así que a él le ofende mucho más. A diferencia de Kristi Noem, que simplemente es una mujer que se la conoce porque ha ejecutado perritos. Miren este clip.
You seen this picture? Let me explain to you how this is all cosplay. Number one, anyone that's ever been in combat, whether it's Marines, been an officer or anything else like that, you would never wear a flak jacket like that. Sloppily put on, it's gonna get snag on something if you try to breach a door or go through any kind of very high intensity situation. Number two, what's going on with the ejection port there? Either means that there's a round in chamber or you're just being slapped and keeping it open. Number three, you have a magazine inserted. That tells me you likely have a round in chamber. And if you have a round in chamber, the most important thing you have to always deal with dealing with weapons handling is you have to assume every weapon is loaded. And you're pointing that weapon directly at that guy's head to the left-hand side. So that is a problem, Secretary Noem.
Aquí tienen a Kristi Noem disfrazada de Ice Barbie en Fox. Literalmente se disfrazó con un atuendo. Miren el clip.
Go in and use our operations and then show in other cities how it's working and tell our story to the American people. The people in their community need to hear how their mayors, their elected officials are protecting the criminals.
But will you go after them personally? I'm going to ask for the third time. Will you go after, I'm asking a question because I expect an answer. Will you go after these individual mayors who are saying essentially they are going to thwart federal authority? You guys have the authority over immigration enforcement. They don't.
Listen, Laura, nobody's above the law. Of course we will. But that's up to President Trump. President Trump gives us a direction. I don't sit here and make up a decision on what I do. I follow the law. That's my job, is we treat everybody the same in this country now that we have President Trump in the White House, and he's going to give us direction on how we're going to go after these individuals.
And service programs and citizenship and integration grants. You've obstructed and roughed up members of this committee as they attempted to conduct congressional oversight, and then you vilified them. But my question is, if they were so bad, why were they allowed to go in after to conduct oversight? Let me just continue. You redirected funds to terrorize our communities. You created taxpayer-funded political propaganda campaigns to terrorize families and children who don't sleep at night because of the terror of those commercials that you are putting out there. You hold sick, disrespectful press conferences in my state where, let me be clear, you are not welcome. You corruptly use...
Aquí hay otro poderoso clip del congresista demócrata Magaziner. Véanlo y entiéndalo por ustedes mismos.
Now I'll recognize Mr. Magaziner for 5 minutes.
Madam Secretary, on April 24th, a woman in Louisiana was deported along with her 7-year-old daughter and 4-year-old son, both of whom were U.S. citizens. The 4-year-old son had stage 4 cancer. Now, you just stated under oath that the mother consented to having her U.S. citizen children removed. But I have spoken with the attorney for that U.S. citizen child with stage 4 cancer. She has also made numerous statements to the press in which she stated unequivocally that at no time did the mother consent to her U.S. citizen children being removed. What evidence do you have to support your claim that she did consent?
Congressman, we followed the same policies and procedures
What evidence do you have?
And we
what
have
evidence do you have?
We have documentation that
what documentation do you have that mother consented?
We will get that to you, sir. I don't have it with me.
Please do. I understand it's hard to keep them all straight because you've
consented
deported multiple U.S. citizen children, but I'm asking specifically about the 4-year-old with cancer who was deported on April 25th. For the record, that family was also not given access to legal counsel before they were deported, even though their lawyer was in the same building at the time. I'm holding in my hands here a document called ICE Directive 11064, Interests of Non-Citizen Parents and Legal Guardians of Minor Children. This is the policy for how ICE agents should handle situations like this. It states unequivocally that parents and legal guardians should have the ability to make alternative care arrangements for minor children prior to their arrest or detention, and that ICE must afford parents the opportunity to consult with legal counsel. So, did the ICE agents working on this case who deported this 4-year-old with cancer of their own volition fail to follow ICE policies, or were they directed to by your office or anyone else in DHS leadership?
Sir, this mother chose to keep her child with
You have
her.
not produced any evidence
When
to
to
say so,
return
but I'm
back to
asking
her
again,
home country,
have you directed
And that is the
DHS
priority of President Trump is
officers
to keep
to
families
ignore
unified
this
together. It's
policy?
very different than the previous
right.
administration. The previous administration
On March
separated families
15th,
over and over
reclaiming
and
my
over
time,
again.
on March
This
15th,
is a
your
change.
department...
Mientras todo esto pasa, los republicanos que forman parte del MAGA están tratando de aprobar un presupuesto horrible que añadiría $6 billones al déficit. Este eliminaría el Medicaid y eliminaría el programa SNAP. El programa SNAP es un programa de nutrición, el cual ayuda a fomentar la mejor alimentación al pueblo. Eliminaría también los mecanismos de vivienda accesibles, los HUD. Aquí está el congresista Brendan Boyle poniendo todo este contexto y explicándolo muy bien. Mira el clip.
Simply put, besides all of the other important issues involved in this bill, this is the overarching truth. It is the biggest tax cuts for billionaires in American history, paid for by throwing 13.7 million Americans off their health care coverage. Now, those aren't my claims. That is not subjective. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office just this week confirmed that at least 13,700,000 Americans will lose their health care if the GOP bill for billionaires becomes law. That is bad economics. It is unconscionable. Even conservative Republican Senator Josh Hawley called it morally wrong. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Josh Hawley is right.
13.7 million Americans on the other side of that screen right there. Hello? Hello. I'm talking to you because I work for you. And they deserve to see what is happening here. Because there are plenty of districts, including Republican ones, where 25% of your constituents are on Medicaid. 40% of your constituents are on Medicaid. And yes, I am talking.
Will the gentlelady yield?
I am talking to them, and I will not yield because it was a terribly disrespectful comment, and I will not yield to disrespectful men. Thank you very much.
Y ahora quiero darle un reconocimiento al congresista Hortford, así que escúchenlo por favor.
The ranking member of the Trade Subcommittee is absolutely right. The president has no authority to enact these emergency tariffs. And if it was an emergency for fentanyl, why is he now lifting the emergency and extending the dates? And where are the Republicans and why are you capitulating your Article 1 constitutional right to oversee this executive branch? That's your job. Don't cut me off.
The gentleman's time has expired.
I'm here to represent my constituents.
The gentleman's time has expired. The question is on agreement.
Ahí lo tienen, amigos, esto es lo que está pasando actualmente en Estados Unidos. Me gustaría saber si les interesa lo que vieron, si no les interesa. Recuerden que el mejor consejo que yo les puedo dar es que guarden dinero en efectivo. Estados Unidos actualmente está muy complicado con el tema económico, está desvariando bastante. Y a mí no me gusta pensar en cosas malas hacia los demás, pero es muy probable que ocurra una recesión. Y si esto ocurre, yo te recomiendo que tengas dinero ahorrado en efectivo. ¿Por qué en efectivo? Porque pueden pasar ciertas cosas que pueden afectar al banco. Recuerda que los bancos no siempre tienen toda la cantidad de dinero, así que lo más importante es tener un poco de dinero guardado en efectivo por si A o por si B. Recuerda que si a la final no pasa nada, vas a tener un dinerito guardado que te puede servir para el carro que te quieres comprar, la casa, alguna inversión, estudiar, tantas cosas. Ahorrar nunca es malo, nunca es malo ahorrar, porque te puede salvar de cualquier problema. Pero en estos momentos críticos que tiene Estados Unidos, sí te recomendaría que guardes y que no inviertas, por más que tu inversión sea en un negocio, en una casa, espera un año, guarda un año, o si vas a hacer para un negocio, no lo hagas a lo grande. Comienza abajo, paso a paso, ahorra. Este es el mejor consejo que te puedo dar por ahora. Además recuerda que probablemente entre junio y julio abra mi canal de finanzas, en el cual te explico las mejores formas de ahorrar, las mejores formas de invertir dinero, cómo deberías y cómo no deberías de usar tu dinero, crédito, débito, todo esto. Así que si te interesa, me encantaría que me lo dejes en los comentarios. Recuerda que en este canal que estás viendo vas a encontrar contenido de política estadounidense todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado y estoy comprometido a informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.